New Mexico has some of the oldest churches and religious sanctuaries in North America, from Native American kivas to Spanish-built missions to a basilica in Santa Fe. We are going to start with Rosario Chapel in Santa Fe. The building of Rosario Chapel began in 1807 at the old 1692 encampment of Diego de Vargas and his army. Don Diego de Vargas was a governor of the New Spain territory. The Feast of Corpus Christi is a Roman Catholic holiday that celebrates the real presence of Jesus Christ in the Eucharist. It is a public holiday in many countries, but is mostly celebrated by the Catholic population, including New Mexico. The Sunday after Corpus Christi in Santa Fe is an annual procession of La Conquistadora. The evening begins at the Cathedral Basilica of St. Francis of Assisi and terminates at Rosario Chapel. The 9 days of the event are celebrated in Santa Fe in the early part of the summer. It is 9 days of prayer and devotion to Our Lady of the Conquistadora, a sacred statue that is considered the oldest Madonna statue in the United States, if not North America. That statue is hand-carved from willow and European olive wood. Tree ring dating performed by the University of Arizona dates her to be between 1448 and 1648. It is thought she was brought to the New World by the Spanish and reached Santa Fe in 1626. She was carried there on an ox cart in a wagon train. The statue has an extensive collection of gowns, robes, veils, wigs, and jewelry. It is estimated she has a wardrobe of more than 300 outfits and a jewelry collection that would be the envy of any royal. The statue's elaborate attire is changed monthly to correspond with the church calendar. Most pieces of clothing have a special meaning. Not only is the Cathedral Basilica of St. Francis of Assisi the home of the Conquistadora, it is also the mother church of the Archdiocese of Santa Fe, New Mexico. The cathedral was built between 1869 and 1886 on the site of an older adobe church from the 18th century. There was even an older church on the same site built in 1626, but it was destroyed in the 1680 Pueblo Revolt. A small chapel on the north side of the cathedral was kept from the old church. This is where the Conquistadora is housed. I have spent a lot of time in this cathedral because I used to live in Santa Fe. I would spend my lunch hours relaxing in the pews, watching the tourists come and go. One thing I noticed is they were so focused on the Madonna that they really didn't notice the relics to her side. These relics may be physical remains of saints, such as bones, pieces of clothing, or some object associated with departed saints or other religious figures. Let's talk about the ones that most individuals are familiar with, like Mother Teresa. Mother Teresa dedicated her life to helping the poor and sick. She won a Nobel Peace Prize in 1979. The relic is thought to be her hair. There are many bones in the case thought to be pieces of saints, such as the bone and tooth of Saint Justin and a piece of bone from Saint Francis of Assisi. the church's namesake. The most interesting is the stone casket that contains the bones of two fathers. One of the fathers' bones was removed from the ruins of an ancient church and brought here in 1759. I could not tell if there was one or two caskets behind the glass. I used to love to come sit in this park next to the basilica. I would come here all the time. I'd go in my lunch hour and go in the basilica with my friends and pray. And I'd sit here.
Hey, I used to pray I'd get a job, remember?
And I'd sit in this park and have lunch. And I actually now that I remember, I used to pray for the people that were in that cemetery there.
You remember what happened to them?
No, I just remember praying for them. Let's go over there. Maybe it says. There are several people buried around the cathedral basilica and entombed inside. Records show about 200 known individuals in all, many without headstones or known burial locations. The burials on the side of the church are considered the settlers of Santa Fe and are marked with a common memorial. Some of the known burials date back to the early 1600s. Most recently, a tree fell in front of the church. It pulled the tree and its roots from the ground, leaving a big hole. When one of the resident priests examined the area, he noticed what he thought was a stick at first. Then it occurred to him that it is not a stick, it is a bone. It appeared to be a small human arm bone buried beneath the fallen tree. This was not a surprise to him because most of their older churches all have burials right around the structures. Some even have burials in the floors of the churches. Whenever there are renovations or repairs, it is common for them to find burials. There have been church structures on this spot for about 400 years. So it is not surprising that some burials have been forgotten. After archaeologists examine the found burials, it is always the church's wishes that the bones are returned to their original site of burial. One of the burials in the church I found interesting is Maria Barcelo. I find her interesting because I love the picture of her toting a cigarette. Maria was born in Sonora, Mexico, and owned a lavish Santa Fe gambling parlor. She was called the Queen of the Monte Dealers and the richest woman in town when she passed away in 1852 at the age of 52. I am not sure quite where she is buried. Over 300 Franciscan missionaries served in New Mexico during the Spanish colonial era. Only 3 of their graves can be located today. We have already shown you their memorial stones in the walls of the Conquistadora chapel room. If you go to the north side of the sanctuary, there are several crypts of archbishops. These are mostly from the 20th century. Prior to the 20th century, the archbishops were buried under the church altar. Thank you for joining us for this installment of the World's Greatest Sacred Places. We invite you to subscribe and watch all our videos as we uncover the hidden stories of many other sites of worship.